Yesterday, I'm scrolling through social media. I'm minding my own business when I come across this TikTok video and it just sucks all of the self-confidence just out of my soul. In the video, 6 women are asked the ideal salary of their future partner, of their future spouse, and the results? Let's just say they might haunt normal people for the rest of our lives. To me, this video is a representation of society as we try harder and harder to indulge that dopamine, as we chase these ideas that we've planted in our heads that at the end of the day are completely unnecessary to what so many of us really do want, which is just to be happy. And so these are the responses after asking these 6 women what they think their ideal spouse should make in terms of income. It starts off with $127,000 for annual income. Maybe that's actually not too bad. But then the next is $150,000 to $250,000. After that, another $150,000 to $250,000. But then we get $300,000 a year, we get $500,000 a year, and we get $650,000 a year. See, I'm not exaggerating. I really hope that my wife did not have those perceptions before we got married and she kind of just settled for this right here. But is this not the perfect representation of the shift of what's going on in society? You know how they say nothing is original? Like, for example, William Shakespeare, they say he still drew inspiration and borrowed from other places, right? Nothing is truly original. And I think the way that we see the world is actually very much the same. We borrow from other things that we see, from other things that we experience. We're not original thinkers. And because of this, we develop this perception, this idea about what will fulfill us and make us happy. And we do this by comparing ourselves to others and the people around us. And sometimes that results in the idea that to be happy, you need a spouse that makes $650,000 a year. I was watching an interview about 2 months ago about a guy, he's got about a 20 million net worth. He says any mid-sized city in the United States of America, he feels like he is very wealthy. He goes to New York City, he feels like he's extremely poor. Everyone in his building has 10 times the amount of money he does. They're flying private jets. They own works of art by the masters, things that he can't afford, and he is comparing himself to them, and he thinks that he is just not that well off, that he's a failure. And no one that has $20 million net worth should feel like a failure, right? Imagine you go on a hike. You're with a big group of people and you're halfway up to the peak of the mountain. And you look up and you see a couple people from your group who are already at the top, and you think to yourself, oh my gosh, I'm a failure. I'm just at the halfway point. Now what you don't do is you don't look around at all of the people from your group who are also at the halfway point with you, and you definitely don't look down at the bottom to see all the people who are still struggling way down there. No, you look at the people at the top and you say, I'm a failure because of those people at the top. Meanwhile, maybe a couple of them actually were airlifted up there, right? They took a helicopter, they inherited their wealth probably, and then some of them that are up there, maybe they're not even really up there, they just look like they are, a little smoke and mirrors action, like we see on social media. So if you're feeling behind financially right now, here are some things that may help you feel better about your financial situation, and you may not even know it. According to a survey from Bankrate, only 43% of participants said that they could actually cover a $1,000 emergency funded from their savings. And for those who make $100,000 or less, 60% of them said that they were worried or somewhat worried about their savings. So if you do have $1,000 or more that you can access inside savings, you're actually doing better than more than half of the population. Of course, you want to have more than $1,000 for an emergency fund, probably 3 to 6 months of expenses, but we'll talk more later about maybe how to help us get motivated to get where we probably need to be. But if you do have an emergency fund saved up, hey, you should feel good about that. Most people don't have money for savings. Therefore, most people also have credit card debt because they don't have enough money in an emergency fund, so they build up debt. The average debt per household in the United States of America is $9,260. If your household has less than that in debt, you're probably ahead. Now we can also talk about this though per state because some states have more debt than others. So we talk about this per state. Alaska has the highest debt per person, not per household like I just said the number before, but per person. $7,758. That's how much the average Alaskan has in debt per person, not per household. Florida, my home state, has over $6,500 in credit card debt per person. Because we know a lot of people don't have emergency funds, people end up racking up debt. And according to credit.com, 56% of respondents said that they racked up credit card debt because of unexpected expenses, which is why you need an emergency fund. So if you have less than $9,260 in credit card debt per your household, you're actually doing better than average. And maybe individually you have less than one of those states if you do live in one of those states. In that case, you're also doing better than average. Of course, having little to no credit card debt is probably much better, but hey, let's try to get there little by little, and hopefully it motivates you. So you can see how you're doing based on your debt, but also you can see how you're doing based on the average credit score. In terms of Vantage score, having a 661 or higher is considered good. The average of all credit scores, Vantage score wise, is 697. So if you go take a look at your credit, higher than 697, you're actually gonna be higher than average. There's also state by state. So how do you compare versus your state? Mississippi actually has the lowest Vantage score with 662, and Minnesota has the highest with 724. If you live in Mississippi, you got higher than 662, you're doing better than the average of your state. You live in Minnesota, you got higher than 724, you're doing better. Of course, you want this to be as high as you can possibly get. But right now, if we're talking about how you feel, well, you're doing better than average if you're above some of these levels. One of the reasons that you want to have a good credit score is so you can get loans, right? So let's talk about mortgages per state. If you take all of the household income that you make as a household, 31% of that income on average goes to mortgage payments in the United States. So if you actually have a mortgage payment that's only 25% of your household income, you're actually doing probably better than the average of Americans around. But then we also, of course, have to talk about this per state because some states have higher costs for mortgage payments. So some of the states with the lowest mortgage payments include West Virginia, Kentucky, Michigan, Mississippi, and Ohio. And states with the highest mortgage payments actually include Hawaii as number 1, California, Massachusetts, Utah, and Colorado. To put this into more context, the average mortgage payment in Hawaii is just over $3,600, but the average mortgage payment in West Virginia is only $1,700. That's a big spread. And because mortgages are much more in Hawaii than West Virginia, the amount of your household income you pay is higher towards your mortgage in Hawaii. So just over 39% of your household income in Hawaii on average goes to your mortgage. If you live in California, it's just over 33%, but if you live in Michigan, which is one of the lower percentage of household incomes going to mortgages, it's just over 24%. It's a big spread, 24% for Michigan versus Hawaii at just over 39%. Now, hopefully some of these stats are making you feel better. You're doing better than the average, but that doesn't mean that you can't improve. And if you're not feeling good about what I just said, well, you gotta start improving, right? So let's talk about some ways to try to start doing this. What we're gonna do here is we're going to limit, not stop, the dopamine. And the way we're gonna do that is by limiting our access, how much time we spend on social media, which makes us feel bad about ourselves, which makes us not motivated anymore. We're gonna get some of our time back. So what I do and what has really helped me recently is I use screen time on my iPhone. Every iPhone has this. It tells you how much screen time you have for social media, different apps, things like that. But what you can do here is you can actually limit certain apps. And that's exactly what I've done. So if you take a look, I limit YouTube Studio, I limit Twitter. So every day, I am not able to go on those different apps for more than 15 minutes for Twitter, 5 minutes for YouTube Studio. I was spending way too much time on those apps, and this has given me so much time back. So I highly suggest this. Get some of your time back, you'll feel better, and now let's take some of that time that you're going to have, and let's maybe put it into something more productive. This is a suggestion, just that something I've done before, and that's why I'm kind of sharing it with you. So I drove for Uber maybe about 6 years ago, and I really enjoyed it. I made quite a bit of extra money. I would do it after work, I do it before work sometimes, and I think that it's a great way for anyone to just, if you have a car, you just hop in there, you turn your app on, and you start making money pretty easily. Once you make that extra money, of course, put it into emergency fund, pay off the debt, start investing, start getting your finances jump started. Now, I've heard that there's actually different levels of Uber now, and some of them allow you to do like a certain location that you want to drive in. So for example, if you get to that level, well, if you have a job, you could probably just maybe commute to work and actually make some rides on the way to work and the way back. I don't know what the level is or anything like that. I don't know how you get to it. This is just what I've heard. But now you have that extra income. The next thing we want to do is we want to get organized with tasks. So I tried a bunch of different apps. I tried Notion, I tried a few different task managers, and I finally settled on one, and I really do enjoy it, and I think it's really helping me out a lot. It's called Amazing Marvin. It's not very well known, but what I do love about this is how simple it is to add tasks, simple interface, easy to understand, it syncs with my computer. There's a lot of things I really like about this, and it's really been helping me get productive, basically. My suggestion is gonna be to use an Amazing Marvin type of app to help you start getting organized with your finances. I'm gonna tell you the way I would go about doing this. If I'm feeling financially behind, there's two things I wanna do. I wanna be organized with my finances, and I wanna make sure that I do the things I need to do at the right times. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm going to make sure that I have a budget I'm gonna make sure that I invest my money or I put my money in the right place. I'm gonna go into Amazing Marvin. I'm going to just add create budget. I'm gonna go into my create budget task, and now I'm gonna add a bunch of sub-tasks to this. And so first I'm gonna say, okay, of expenses. So I can see how much money I'm paying in certain things. Check bank account for automatic withdrawals. Add up my household income. Then I'm just gonna create Excel spreadsheet. So of course this is a bit simplistic, but it's gonna depend on your household and your finances and your budget and what you need to do. But every time I finish something, I'm gonna just click it, and basically I'm done. And I'm going to make sure that I schedule this every single day. So it's gonna pop up in the morning, 9 a.m., or whatever it is, and I'm gonna make sure that I do some of these tasks. And hopefully, by the end of, let's say, a week, I'm done. And I got my budget all created and I'm ready to go. The other thing I might do is make a reoccurring task that says, look at investments or something like that. Something that I'm going to make sure that I do to make sure I'm investing my money correctly. However you would do it, that's up to you. I would probably just do it on like a monthly basis. I'd go in, I'd wanna look at all my investments and make decisions, and then maybe buy some, sell some, rebalance my portfolio, things like that. So my camera died, but at the end of the day, just make sure that you use these ideas, get off social media, take some time back to yourself. Don't let this get to you. Start making positive changes in your life. Now, there's one thing I didn't mention in this video, which is the average net worth of individuals by age bracket. And if you want to see that, you're going to want to watch this video right here.